Hello and welcome back, most illustrious members of the Detail. I'm your host D, also known as MTF Doom, and today we're going to talk about the best mode ever added to Marvel Snap, Conquest mode. I mean that very, very genuinely. That's not a joke. The major problem with it, the single major problem as I see it, and as has kind of been pointed out by my Discord and by some people in the comment section, and how you can deal with that. And just as a bonus, two deck lists that I've been having good results with. So far I only have one infinite ticket, just for clarity's sake. I realize you can't see it here, but I do have one infinite ticket ready to cash in to try my luck. I hope you enjoy. So before we get into, just so you know, this isn't like big drama, like second dinner, you ruined I'm not that type of person. You probably know that by now. If you don't, welcome to the channel. You should like and subscribe. That's all I'm doing today. I'm not doing the whole intro. I will do the whole outro because I have people to thank who do right by me. But the issue is very minor, but it has been pointed out in my Discord, and it kind of got pointed out in the comment section of the last video I did. And it was one that I wasn't experiencing on day 1 of Conquest, but I am experiencing today, day 2. And it's decks like this. Lockjaw, Hella, high roll decks, which I warned you to stay away from yesterday. And I do stand by that. I think that you, like, in a sort of best of 10 scenario, playing a deck that's kind of cheesy isn't probably going to work. A lot of people, I think I mentioned in yesterday's video, have been playing Galactus, and like with the changes to Galactus, it's pretty easy to beat, especially when you know it's coming. I think on ladder, Galactus is going to be a little bit better than it was before. It's definitely overrepresented, but I think it's easier to deal with in a best of 10 type scenario. Decks like this high evo lockjaw decks stuff, all of this can be good. It has its place, but that's also the problem that I want to talk about, and the only part of the Conquest mode that I don't like, and that's the Proving Grounds tier. Because currently, the optimal strategy is to enter Proving Grounds with a deck like this, or with like a Hella discard, right? Invisible Woman Hella MODOK deck, and snap on turn 1 and just hope to high roll. Because and what's more is that I'm noticing more and more everyone is kind of agreeing to it. Like if you just snap on 1, your opponent snaps on 1, you play 1 game for 8 cubes, and then the loser just concedes. That's actually optimal because there's no downside to losing, and it's so much faster to just, like, even if you only had a 33% win rate with a deck, you would only have to play 3 of these 1 game games to get a ticket into silver. And because that's so much more optimal than playing out all 10 cubes, which could conceivably take quite a long time, like way longer than 3 or 4 single games, most people, I've realized, are kind of agreeing to this metric of, like, yeah, you play a best of 1 in Proving Grounds, to the point where I kind of think that's what it should be. Like, almost is just like, yep, Proving Grounds, you just play a best of 1, you get the ticket, and then there's actually stakes. Silver, gold, infinite, those all have real stakes to losing, because you have to replay that best of 1 and get your ticket back. And it's a problem because it's, one, not everyone agrees to it, and you end up like, you know, it's not a problem that people aren't agreeing to it. You're not obligated to agree to this implicit back and forth, this trade-off, but it can be kind of frustrating, like playing out this whole 10 cube game, like 1 cube at a time, because you're retreating and your opponent's retreat, and it's like, okay, I lost, and now it took me half an hour, and now I don't have a ticket at the end of half an hour. And you know, it's especially frustrating for people who like do want to do that, because currently there's kind of not that option. Almost every game I've joined in Proving Grounds has been both players snap, both players fist bump, loser concedes, and that is kind of optimal. And I kind of like, I don't know that there's a good fix other than making that the way it is, or maybe just like you can only have one proving grounds like one silver ticket, and you just get it from ladder. Like if you have no silver tickets and you play a ladder game and you win, you get a silver ticket, but you can't bank them. Maybe that could work, something like that. I don't know if that's a better solution or not, because I have kind of liked banking my proving grounds tickets for what it's worth. I prefer doing that, just grinding out a bunch of one-off games, getting a bunch of proving grounds tickets, and then entering my silvers and golds consecutively back to back to back. But that is the one issue that a lot of my Discord has had, and that a lot of people pointed out yesterday in the comments. Like, actually, these high roll decks do kind of have a spot, and that's like, this one's like fairly consistent as Lockjaw deck. It's not as inconsistent as some high roll decks, but it's also good for that proving ground grind. So keep that in mind. They're not useless by any means. I didn't mean to imply they were if that came off that way, but for what it's worth, I prefer and can play better with. Oh, and also if you are just an aggressive snapper to begin with, decks, someone pointed that out. Who was that? Okay, Confirmation. It did that info. The fact that high roll decks are good for aggressive snappers, even outside of that first game, the Proving Grounds game, actually came from Crayon Eater. That was their input, which is true. I just wanted to put all that out there. But a lot of people pointed out in different ways that like, the aggressive decks have their niche, and so, but what I'm getting at is that the biggest niche, at least as far as I've seen, has absolutely been for the Proving Grounds. Okay. So then we'll get into two deck lists that I didn't get into yesterday's video, just barely. One I discovered as that video was uploading, and that's this one. I have been doing this is what I got my first infinite ticket with. Decks like this that just like are hard for you, like, you're not putting that much power on the board necessarily early, right? Like, it's easy to not have priority and then to be like, anyway, my Darkhawk has 12 power, and also I can Shang you because I have a Zabu out, and like, or like Darkhawk, Stature, Spider-Man, something. Like, it's not that hard to just like stay behind in prio so all your stuff is safe, and then win off the back of just literally Stature Darkhawk is all it takes most of the time. You get really good, discards with Black Bolt on turn 5. Like, a lot of people are trying to curve out and play fair decks. Like, most people don't have 1 or 2 costs left in their deck, in their hand at that point, and you're hitting some relevant threat. It lets you play out like, oh, well, we hit their Shang, so actually, like, even though we didn't have priority, we don't have to worry about them shanging into the lane that it could possibly win it for them, whatever. It gives you, it combines the idea that you're kind of getting info from your opponent because it is a best of 10. You get kind of added value by just every card that you can see early generates a little bit more value for you. And overall, the deck is just really reasonable and like just good. I really, I haven't seen a lot of Killmonger. I guess if you're seeing Killmonger a lot, Titania is not the best bet, but I don't know. I'm not seeing Killmonger at all. I might even be convinced to run Killmonger in Nova instead of like Nebula Titania myself. But overall, the deck's just really good. The deck's really good. High recommend. Very, very fair, very reasonable. The fact that you're running 2 pieces of very relevant interaction. Polaris can mess up your opponent's play patterns so badly, and that's it. Like, it's just good. It's just a good, solid. I love these mid-range decks for best of 10 formats. I cannot recommend it enough. And then the final one actually comes from Discord user, cannot pronounce her name. I'm so sorry. This happens every time I pronounce someone's name for the first time. Saracenia? That's probably close. Saracenia, maybe? she posted a really good write-up. Join the Discord to read it. I don't have time to read all of it right now, but functionally, you know, what you're doing is dino stuff. Like dino's good sometimes. The one card, so she was running Sunspot because sometimes you are floating on 5. You're doing a full float. I don't hate that. But I find that if I'm doing a full float, it's because I want my opponent to get ahead in priority so that my Dino She-Hulk on 6 are going to live. And so the full float Sunspot can sometimes backfire because it gains the 5 power and it might put you ahead. So I've opted for Cable, mostly because I have this sick variant. It could also be Cosmo to cover your Devil Dino from getting like interacted with, because your Devil Dino is kind of gonna be the biggest thing on the field most of the time. And it could also be Chavez just for consistency, but I'm sitting on Cable right now, and it could be Sunspot. But ultimately, this is just a Dino thing that has a very like good plan to float on 5 some of the time. You know, you've got again the added bonus of White Queen and Cable. Well, for me, being able to see cards in your opponent's deck and just get info on what they're playing. You know, what their future plans might be with White Queen. Just all, you know, like, I'm really glad this deck's making a comeback. Well, I don't know that's making a comeback. I'm really glad Dino is once again maybe a reasonable threat into the format, because, like, the card's really cool. It's just a well-designed card, and I just like it a lot. So, those are the two, in addition to the ones yesterday. I stand by all the ones I talked about yesterday, but I've added these two to my roster, my sort of rotation from silver to gold. And again, if I'm doing proving grounds, I'm just spamming Lockjaw, and I'm really sorry. Like, I know it can be really frustrating, but that's just what it is. And I hope that they make a change, maybe like either codify that or make. I don't want them to make proving grounds worse. Like, I don't want them to be like, yeah, you have to win 2 games in proving grounds to get a silver ticket, because that's just like gonna suck. Like, it's already such a grind to get those infinite tickets that I don't want to do that. I'm not interested. I'm plumb not interested in this. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna cut to the outro. I'm gonna say thank you again at the end of that, and then I hope you have a great day at the end of that. Thank you, everyone who has donated their time or money, or some of them both, to helping the channel or queer orgs in general on this most holy of Pride months. Among them are the Tiny Ruby, A Frog in a Tent, Clips, Crayon Eater, Cole D, Polyhaze, Sartorius, Demisi, and KD. I thank you all so much. I thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.